Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I'm just being me in a world that isn't. Today, I'm talking about my favorite powder boards, along with a spoiler or two for 2024. A powder board, to me, well, that's a board that floats in powder better than just about anything else it does. It's often not a great groomer board. It's just a board you take out when it's really deep, and it gives you that extra float over most other boards out there. And it's a really special ride. If you want to look at some boards that rip groomers, carve super hard, but also do really well in powder, check out our alternative free ride, our snow surf, and our free ride boards. Some of those can get close to these. But if you want a pure powder experience that just has this special float, you want to look at these. And who am I? And why should you care about this comparison? Well, I'm James Beastie. I'm the editor, founder of The Good Ride. I've been doing this for 17 years. I've ridden close to 600 boards, and if you count the different builds of the same model over the years, I've ridden a lot more. I've also done extensive comparisons. I go out with several different boards every day with the same boots, the same bindings, and test them all in the same conditions, often the same runs, just so I can get a really good idea of how all these different boards compare. And that's how I come to my conclusions, and that's how I find my favorites. Also check out the full video reviews on YouTube and the entire in-depth review on The Good Ride, where there's a rating system, there are comparison tools, and lots of other things that I just can't put on YouTube that can really help you in deciding which powder board's best for you. It's greatly appreciated if you like, subscribe, but even better, become a member on Patreon or YouTube. Get early access to videos as we test the gear, and you can hear our opinion throughout the test. Buy through the links on our channel and on our site. Buy our merch, because these reviews are honest and objective, some of the only ones out there on the internet. And we're not paid by the manufacturers to promote these boards, and we want to stay that way. So let's talk about our first board. It's the Capita Spring Break Powder Twin. It hasn't changed over the years, and it isn't changing that much or at all for 2024. So this is a great board for those of you who like to ride switch, ride centered in powder, and play around and spin. I just had a great time with this, and this isn't even my style of board. I come from a surfing background. I like setting it back, getting really directional, and surfing powder. But yet, this powder twin was so much fun. I would say the Yes 2020 came pretty close, but something about this board, it just really works well for any kind of rider. It has a mellow camber between the bindings. And so if you're a bigger rider, you have big feet, and you want just a all-around mountain freestyle twin, this could work for you there. But if you're a rider like me, size 9 boots, 180 to 190 pounds, and you want to go out and have a powder twin experience, this'll do it for you. It was floating better than just about any other twin I've ever tried in powder. So I highly recommend this board for any mountain freestyle riders who don't want to set their board back in powder and want an actual true twin in powder. This is the best one out there, hands down. So next up on the list, and we're getting into directionals now, is the Burton 3D Fish. This is my favorite board for powder days when you're in tight trees and you need to turn quickly. This is the most slashy, quick turning board of all my favorites, and I really like this. I've ridden in a 156, but I'm seriously contemplating going 161 because this turns so quick. Why not have the extra little bit of float in deep powder and low angle powder that I often see at Mount Bachelor? This board has a flat to rocker profile, and after it rockers up, it starts to go into a 3D nose, what Burton calls it, kind of like a spoon nose with other people, lifted sides basically. It's almost like a diamond in the nose. And it has that same great turning experience in powder that I love with all lifted sides in powder. They just do this really cool thing. I had problems with the base on my 2021 model, but it seems to be fixed for 2023, and I don't think it's changing much or at all for 2024. So this is a great, very recommendable powder board for anybody who wants the quickest turning board out there. And I just had a time with this. It was a very special board. I've owned one in the past and I want to own one again. Now, next up, a new board I rode last year, and the more I've thought about it and compared it to other boards, and now that they're offering two sizes, a 55 and a 62, the Soul Blower is an amazing board. Now, if you want the most surfy experience possible, I would go with the Blower because it is the most setback on board out of all these. It has a pretty fast base, not the fastest, but really fast, way up there, good glide. It has this unique camber profile that has a pretty pronounced spoon nose going into some early rise, then to a little bit of camber just before the front inserts of the bindings, that then goes to the back foot, and it's just regular old camber in the back. This is one of the only boards that's pretty fun riding on groomers. It's way better in powder still, but that camber off the back foot acts like surf fins and gives you this truly surf-like experience on groomers. In powder, it's very surfy too. You don't feel that tail as much, but you've got so much float. It's super setback on board. It's just got such an easy, floaty, turning experience. So if you're looking for the most surfy powder board experience, this is an amazing board, and it floated up there with some of the best I've ever tried. And I've gotten this in some super deep snow. Everybody else was stalling out and they just couldn't make it down the low angle hill in waist deep powder, but I could, and I loved this board for that. And now, last but not least, the Spring Break Powder Glider. Now, I love the whole Spring Break line. It's hard to choose a favorite, but the reason why I'm bringing up this instead of the Powder Pill for 2023 is because they're consolidating the line for 2024, and they're making powder gliders in a bunch of different sizes. They're making it in a 162, a 158, and a 154, which I think is great. Now that they're going to have a 162 in 2024, that's the board I want. I still want my 158 for when it's not ultra deep, but when it's ultra deep, I would love to go out on that 162 and just get easy, effortless directional float. It's not that fun in those medium powder days where things get chewed up, it's a little uneven, or you occasionally bottom out. That's just not where this board shines. This has flat to rocker, flat in the middle, rocker in the nose and tail. It isn't even that setback on board, especially when you compare it to the Blower and the 3D Fish. Those both are way more setback on board. But for some reason, this thing floats probably better than any other board I've ever tried. And I'm not just saying the Powder Glider, but the whole Spring Break line. You just have to find the one that fits your specs. For me, I think that 162 is going to be amazing because the last few years, they've made the base faster. It's up there with the fastest of the fast now. So it just keeps its speed through traverses, and it just sits on top of powder, unlike any other board I've ever tried. I've just never experienced float like this with any other brand. And when it's deeper than deep, when it's all time, I always want to be on a Capita Spring Break powder board. So there you have it. These are my favorite powder boards. They're special to me. They're special to my crew. They're the boards I take out to compare other powder boards against. They're the standard. If a board can keep up with these boards, it's doing really well. And if your board that you love in powder isn't on this list, it doesn't make it a bad board or anything like that. This is just my personal opinion from my average ass riding style and ability level. And if you ride like I do, then maybe these boards will be the same for you.